Now, Kendra's joining us from New Hampshire, and I'm sure you're about to hear she's traveled a whole lot further than that. But Kendra is the founder of a new app called Kikori, and she's a former school social worker who is currently doing her Ph.D. in education at the University of New Hampshire. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kendra Bostick.
All right. We're going to play a game called Stand Up. Stand up if you woke up this morning excited to connect with other students. Yay! Extra shout out to UNH. Y'all got on a bus this morning. I was there 3 years ago. And heck yeah to anyone who's sitting down right now because you're still here. You can sit down. All right. Stand up if you've ever walked into a room or a cafeteria, had no one to sit with, and felt a wave of anxiety. I've so been there. You can sit down. All right, stand up if you've ever been paralyzed with fright giving a presentation in front of others. Please keep standing, because if I could put this mic up to my heart, you'd hear it beating at 140 beats per minute. I appreciate you standing because I know that I'm not alone in my fear. Because you're standing, I'm given the strength that I need to share my story with all of you. You can sit down. We all have a story, and this is mine. I was just a small town girl living in a lonely world. Jonathan can help me sing it later. Specifically, Manton, Michigan, a town with 1,000 people, a blinking red light, and a blinking yellow light. My dad was from there, but my mom was from a Detroit suburb, and I was raised Jewish in a community that was predominantly Christian. When I was in the 5th grade and we learned about the Holocaust, I had students who weren't happy with themselves tell me that I was going to the gas chambers. I know that this is difficult to hear, but the reality is, whether it's what we believe, where we come from, or the way we look, we're all trying to figure out how we fit in. And I didn't feel like I belonged. When I was in high school, this led to panic attacks in speech class, and my high school guidance counselor, Mr. Berg, allowing me to quit speech. I made up for this by being salutatorian my senior year. What did this mean? It meant I had to give a speech. I reminded Mr. Berg, I can't give speeches, remember? And he told me if I didn't, I wouldn't graduate. What Mr. Berg was telling me was that my voice mattered and that being different didn't mean I didn't belong. What I didn't realize that day is that Mr. Berg was standing up for me. And when I got on that podium, visually shaking, and gave my speech, I began to learn how to stand for myself. When I was in college, I was still terrified to get out of my comfort zone, and I passed up exciting opportunities if I didn't have a friend to join me. But the universe, like it so often does, had other plans, and when I attempted to study abroad in Sydney, Australia with my friend, I was sent instead to Melbourne. This gave me the opportunity to stand on my own, and while I was there, I met a group of amazing student nomads who were traveling the world, exploring new worlds, and finding themselves. This new world so inspired me that when I graduated, I moved to London, where I worked in a day treatment school. I taught English in Thailand, and despite being thousands of miles away from my hometown, I saw kids I recognized, kids who, like me, needed someone to stand up for them. And I also started to notice something magical happen. When we played, these kids opened up. And then I attended a conference that blew my mind. It was my first experiential education conference, and we played games from morning until night. Throughout the course of 3 days, these strangers became a community, and I also learned a framework that's become the foundation of my entrepreneurship journey, the experiential learning cycle. Within the experiential learning cycle, students first get out of their comfort zones through play. Second, they reflect on what happened during that activity, building self-awareness and empathy. Third, they connect their experiences during the activity with their past experiences. And fourth, they apply that knowledge going forward so that way they grow. I took this framework and I applied it in a variety of settings, working as a therapist in inpatient behavioral health hospitals for children and as a school social worker in Chicago. But as I was developing and implementing these activities, I began to notice a disconnect. While teachers were being evaluated on how well their students were achieving their academic learning goals, they couldn't get through to their students because they didn't feel like they belonged. And these teachers were overworked and they were under-resourced and they didn't have
sense of belonging for the kids.
I knew, see? I knew that experiential education activities had the power to cultivate a sense of belonging that these kids needed in order to learn. But the teachers were overworked and under-resourced, and they didn't have time because they had too much stuff to teach. And then I had my aha moment. What if we could build an app that would democratize access to experiential learning activities for all teachers and schools? And luckily, I met a partner, Bryn. Bryn complemented my skills by bringing expertise in outdoor education and facilitation. Together, we dove deep into the world of app development and the entrepreneurship ecosystem, our motto being #ThanksGoogle. And then I met another champion, a professor at the University of New Hampshire, Dr. Michael Gass, who invited me to work on my Ph.D. while I learned how to measure the impact of experiential education activities. It was also where I met Ian Grant and got involved at the Entrepreneurship Center at UNH. Yay! In January of 2021, we launched Kikori, a community-driven platform with over 500 experiential learning activities aligned with social emotional learning standards, 21st century skills, and the Sustainable Development Goals, the language of the future. Kikori harnesses the power of teachers around the world and allows them to contribute activities that are place-based and culturally relevant. As of today, we have over 7,000 users in 73 countries around the world. We're also in schools in the United States and Canada and working with organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters. We also recently closed $230,000 and brought on a team of 6 amazing women as our core team. Thank you. It's amazing to know what a small town girl can do when she realizes she was never really alone. And so my message to you today is that you don't have to have it all figured out. If we can all stand with each other, we can stand for each other. And so today I stand here for you, so please don't stop believing.